Miguel, let's start with the front page of the Telegraph Sport then. Arsenal 5, Bolton 1, young glove at the headline. Keeper Porter, 16 breaks record as Nwaneri, 17 nets twice in rout. After a physical and emotional game against Manchester City, how confidence boosting was this, Miguel?
Yeah, it's a lovely headline. A bit of an elixir as well, as you say, given, well, not just the Manchester City game, but I think that actually took the previous week to extremes for Arsenal. There was obviously a lot of issues like suspensions, the injuries, the intensity of a derby followed going away to Atlanta, and then, of course, the nature of that game in Manchester City. So to have a run out like that where you can play youth can be revitalising. And I suppose with a lot of the kind of feeling around Arsenal at the moment, the age of that team is a little bit of a throwback as well to maybe kind of some of Wenger's days. And when he would attempt to make a virtue of bringing through young players, especially in the League Cup. And I suppose it just adds to the good feeling as well as maybe just the sort of win that was needed after three relatively attritional games for different reasons.
Absolutely. Next up for Arsenal, away to Preston, who are currently 21st in the Championship. David, inside the Telegraph is the headline, Porter and Nwaneri shining lights after a week of darts arts controversy. Sam Dean at the game tonight. Experimental, as Miguel says, but would this be a nice confidence boost to win the League Cup? It's not a competition they've won that often, Arsenal.
It will be one they'll be looking to make progress in, and especially Miguel Arteta. He won the FA Cup in 2020 behind closed doors, not got a trophy since, and this is a presentable opportunity. He has actually named very strong teams in the League Cup in previous seasons, and has drawn a bit of criticism for not turning to young homegrown players. Questions about the strength of Arsenal's academy at the moment, when you see clubs like Manchester City and Liverpool in particular winning the cup last season with a number of young players. But then tonight that sort of turned on its head. Okay, perhaps a little bit by default in goal with Raya's injury and the fact that Neto was cup tied. But he's shown confidence in Nwaneri, who I thought was absolutely outstanding tonight. If you watch him with both feet, his balance on the half turn, creating, scoring, full of confidence. He's a real part of the first team setup now, just 17 years old. Miles Lewis-Skelly has been in and around it for a little bit too. He came on at City, of course, on Sunday as well. And then even somebody at right back like Josh Nichols, a little bit of action in pre-season. I thought he played really well tonight. And Arteta blended it well with the experienced players too. So, of course, if Arsenal go deeper into the competition and starting at Preston away, they're going to play more experienced players. That will be tough, a weeknight at Deepdale. But this wasn't easy for those young players, even though Bolton are 18th in League One with just a couple of league wins this season. But I think that will be fantastic for them after the City result on Sunday. And it's been a really good couple of weeks for Arsenal. And this kind of, in a way, caps it off and gives them optimism for the future.
Yep, Leicester coming up in the Premier League for Arsenal. Taking the Guardian sport page there. Teenage dream for Nwaneri. Arsenal's 17-year-old fires first goals in Bolton rout. Jota and Gakpo ease Liverpool past West Ham. We'll talk about that in a second. For Nwaneri specifically, Miguel, how important a night, because he made his debut at 15, didn't he? And sometimes there's a lot of expectation on these young players. It can be difficult to realise that.
Yeah, and obviously from 15, he's still there and still thriving. I mean, and there still is very much a lot of expectation around him. He is someone, I mean, the words that have been repeatedly said to me have been basically in the lines of that if he doesn't become an Arsenal regular, something has gone unexpectedly, just because they think that highly of him. And also think he's exactly the player that can eventually slot in to that creative midfield role. But that's also where I suppose it's maybe interesting over the next few weeks, and it's a classic case of potentially crisis being opportunity in the way it used to be in football, I suppose, before big clubs had quite so much wealth and spending power. Obviously, PSR has imposed on that. But, I mean, obviously, ideally, Arsenal would not want an injury to Martin Odegaard. But given they've come through this difficult spell of games, given they've got at least superficially or on the surface a bit of a forgiving spell now, that's potentially the opportunity to blood a player like Nwaneri, to give him some proper minutes and allow him to get out a proper feel for the first team in the Premier League without too much pressure. You'd think maybe bringing him on in the Leicester game, maybe even starting him, might be the option now. But certainly there's a lot of hope for him, and and now there's opportunity as well to go with that.
Yeah, just wonder what the future holds for Arsenal. Nice tweet post on X from the official Arsenal account. I think we can show you that. Young Gunners making us proud illustrates just how young they are as well. David, what's your sense on this? All the clubs want to bring through fantastic talent. Could this be a special generation? We still look back on those class of 92 pictures with fondness, don't we?
I think that's possibly going a bit far. A bit of caution needs to be exerted on this, because if you speak to people within football and with real expertise on the youth scene, Arsenal have had a bit of a struggle in this cycle, and that's no major criticism. It does happen, and these things are cyclical. So there are some of the younger age groups at Arsenal who are really exciting, such as the under-16s from what I hear. But in this one, it really did seem to be Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly. But tonight and on the bench in Europe against Atalanta, even at City, started to see a few more emerging as an absolutely outstanding talent coming through at Arsenal, one of the best in the country, Max Dowman. And so we'll be seeing a bit more of him in recent years. But we've heard so much on and seen so much, rightly so, on Manchester City, on Liverpool, on Chelsea, Manchester United. Now maybe Arsenal coming back to the fore. And that's such an important part of their sort of DNA and their history, as Mig said earlier, with Arsene Wenger and Mikel Arteta perhaps hasn't done it as much, and understandably so. But now perhaps he has an opportunity to. And really, when I see Nwaneri play, I think he can slot in and get regular game time in that creative position. And also, he's an important part of his country's plans as well. Under 17 Euros over the summer, and then going forward to the upper age groups. You know, we're talking about lacking creative players perhaps at international level over the last decade or so, but maybe it looks like some are coming through now, and Nwaneri is certainly one of them.